That's pretty good. I mean, it's really one higher.
Will you tell us when the lemon break that we got? I mean, well, I didn't tell you. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Is this the information you're wanting? Okay. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is pass back your exam. I will say this about the exam. It is by far the easiest exam of the semester. If you made a C or below, and yes, I'm including a C in this, you probably need to come see me. We probably need to figure out what's going on, because I do expect it to get much harder on the next exam. We need to figure out how to study for this course, something like that. So I'm going to pass back your exams. On the board is the division for the exam. So you can look and see what grade you got. I've already posted it on Blackboard. We'll go from there. Kaylin Aaron. Julie Baruman. Isabella. Ashlyn Bedreau. Oh, I do have two Isabellas. Isabella Brown. Isabella, and the other one was Isabella Blair. Gotcha. Nick. John Burgess. Brendan Cagle. Bailey Cashin. Noel Contreras. Ty Crow. Zoe Davis. Hannah Gatson. Cynthia Omegar, or Gonzalez Omegar. Megan Hall. Mariana Hamilton. Marissa Hartless. Ali Hernandez. Hannah Hicks. Taylor Hill. Demaya Hodges. Shamia Holt. Brittany Wynn. Maya January. Takia Johnson. Skylar Johnston Robbins. Joey Larkin. Zoe Lowry. Mallory Marshall. Michaela Morrison. Adia Mohammed. Danielle Newton. Winnie Wynn. Hayden Ocker. Lily Peters. Gracie Pickens. McKinley Pickens. Hayden Pounds. Ross Price. Nico Romans. Janie Reed. Erica Semlick. Ashton Tran. Michaela Watson. Avery White. Jing. Adam York. Oh, I'm short. Okay, like I said, the division is up on the board to give you an idea of how you did. But it also shows up in Blackboard. I will be posting the key hopefully this afternoon, but no later than tomorrow. I post the key because I am not infallible, and I will gladly answer questions if I made a mistake. So please review the key and compare it to your answers to figure out what's up. For the material that we started on Wednesday of last week, that we will be continuing from now until the next exam. What we are going to be focused on is learning how to develop the formulas of compounds and how to name compounds. I will warn you, this is probably one of the most difficult exams coming up. The reason is because spelling matters. Things are right or they are wrong. There's no partial credit to be given. When you write a formula, the formula is either right or it is wrong. When you write a name, the name is either right or it is wrong. There is no partial credit that can be given. That is what makes it so challenging. Now to help, another thing I expect to post for this week, or in this week's folder, is I expect to post some Quizlets. So you can start memorizing information. And I would start. I would not wait until the week of even the exam. I would start now. Because it is going to be that challenging. And folks, this is not meant as a scare tactic. This is because of what I have seen year in and year out, no matter whether it's my general chemistry class or whether it's my fundamental class or whether it's any of my classes. This is what I have seen. And so that's why you're getting such a dire lecture now. I would love for this class to prove all other classes wrong. I would love for this class to beat out other classes. But the only way to do that is start studying for it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up where we left off on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we talked about cations. Your cations will be metals. They can be divided into two groups. The first group are metals that always have the same charge. We went over these on Wednesday prior to the exam. They include group 1, which is always a +1. Group 2, which is always a +2. It includes silver, which is always a +1. It includes cadmium and zinc, which are always a +2. And it includes aluminum, gallium, and indium, which are always +3. What that means, folks, is no matter what ionic compound I find that metal in, that will be its charge. Naming. To name these ions. You're going to name the metal. Followed by the word ion. We include that second word, ion, to distinguish it from a neutral atom of the element. Sodium has no charge. Sodium ion has a +1 charge. Silver has no charge. Silver ion has a +1 charge. The second group of metals are metals that can have more than one charge. This includes every metal not listed above. To name these ions, you will name the metal, followed by a Roman numeral. the Roman numeral equals the charge on the metal. So if the metal has a +1 charge, you would put in parentheses the Roman numeral 1. If the metal has a +2 charge, you would put in parentheses the Roman numeral 2. A +3 charge is going to be the Roman numeral 3. A +4 charge is the Roman numeral 4. +5 charge, Roman numeral 5. +6 charge, Roman numeral 6 in parentheses, and a +7 charge is a Roman numeral of 7. So, examples. Let's mix it all up. And that is a 3+. The very first one I noticed has no charge. So it's just the name of its element. So it's just sodium. The next one to the right is charged. You find it on the periodic table. What group is it in? The first group. First group always has the same charge. It's always a +1. So to name this, we're going to name the fact that it is potassium. And then we're going to follow it with the word ion. The next one in line is element number 26 on the periodic table. Is it a metal that always has the same charge? No. So what am I going to need to include? Roman numeral. So this is iron, And what would the Roman numeral be? The Roman numeral 2, because it has a +2 charge. The next one doesn't have a charge. So it's just the name of the element. So that is aluminum. The next one is element number 27. Which category does it fit? It's the second category, meaning you're going to need a Roman numeral. So it's cobalt 2. The next one is element 79. Which category does it fit? With or without Roman numeral? With. It's gold 3. The next one is element number 12. What category does it fit? First category or the second category? I've heard first and second. Which is it? First, because it's a group 2, and group 2 is always the same charge. So it's magnesium ion. The next element is element number 30. Does it fit the first category or the second category? It's the first category. It's one of the ones I listed out. This is just zinc ion. The next one is element number 24. First category or second category? Second category, meaning I'm going to need a Roman numeral. And that is chromium 6. Questions? Then let's talk about the anions. Again, there are 2 categories for anions. The first category that we're going to talk about, first of all, your anions will either be nonmetals metalloids or polyatomic ions. We're going to talk about the nonmetals, metalloids first. We've already talked about their charge. If you'll recall, group 15 is a -3. Group 16 is a -2, and group 17 is a -1. I want you before Wednesday to get comfortable with those, because they're going to be directly applicable to our polyatomic ions as well. Now, to name these, we are going to drop the ending of the element's name. And replace it with the ending IDE. So for example, F is fluorine. F-, we're going to replace the ending with IDE and it becomes fluoride. Cl is chlorine. As an anion, Cl-, we're going to drop the ending and replace it with IDE, so it becomes chloride. If you look at the table I gave you on Wednesday, and I have spares if you weren't here. If you look over at our non-metals and metalloids, you will see that what I am showing you for fluorine and chlorine is true for everybody. So nitrogen which is in as an anion becomes nitride. Sulfur as an anion becomes sulfide. Folks, this ending, IDE, is going to be extremely important because, with few exceptions, the ending IDE will help you to distinguish between an anion of an element and a polyatomic anion. So when I see IDE, I automatically think it's an anion of an element. Unless there's a few exceptions, which I'll highlight. But for the most part, that's my first go-to. IDE, anion of an element. Okay, so that was the first category. The second category that we need to deal with are your polyatomic ions. Poly means many. Atomic means atom. And then ions. So we're talking many atom ions. Even more so than the ions of elements. Polyatomic ions must be memorized. I'm going to help you learn how to memorize them. I'm going to give you clues to help you memorize them. What the clues that I give you won't make all of them just miraculously understood, but it'll make a good chunk of them where you can start to pick it up. One thing you need to know about polyatomic ions is that the elements the number of each element the charge of the ion and the name of the ion are always the same. What I mean by that is if I know what sulfate is the same no matter where that sulfate is found all the time. It is the exact same. It does not change. The formula does not change. The name does not change. The charge does not change. It's always sulfate. Okay. The sheet that looks like this I know the writing is small. But the sheet that looks like this starts to help with memorizing these polyatomic ions. And we're going to start with the 8s. And I'm going to if I see the ending 8, the first thing I do is I look at the period. Of the non-oxygen element. For the most part, if the non-oxygen element is in period 3, I'm sorry, in period, let's start with period 2. There are 3 oxygens. In the polyatomic ion. If it is in period 3, through 7, there are 4 oxygens in the polyatomic. So, just so that you get more comfortable looking at these things, look at period 2 and specifically look at borate, carbonate, nitrate, which I've kind of made this by group number. So borate is the first line, carbonate the second, and then you get nitrate, which is the middle of the top box on the third one. What you will see is that they all end in ATE, which is what we're talking about. I looked at the period, and if you're in period 2, which is this top row, you'll notice that all of the ATEs had 3 oxygens. Whereas if you look in period 3 down, which is the second row, all the way, the rest of them, there are 4 oxygens if it ended in ATE. So for example, finding sulfur in this grouping, finding sulfate, I see that sulfur's in period 3. It ends in 8, and so there's 4 oxygens. Find arsenate, which is in group 15, period 5, period 5. Because it is 8 in period 3 through 7, you'll see that there are 4 oxygens in arsenate. So that's one thing. The next thing is the suffix ite. What that typically means is that there is 1 less oxygen than the ATE. So let's go back to sulfate, which is the next of the middle row, or one of the middle rows. Look at sulfate with its 4 oxygens, and then look at sulfite. There's 1 less oxygen. We looked at arsenate a moment ago, which is in the other middle row column. Arsenate, which was in period 5, had 4 oxygens. Arsenite has 3. This 8ite is even valid for period 2. Top row, 3rd column. Nitrate, being in period 2, is a 3 oxygens, but its ite is 1 less oxygen. What does that mean for you in memory work? It means if you know the 8, you don't have to memorize the ite. It's 1 less oxygen. You just need to know the trend. So do I have all my ites memorized? No. I have all my 8s memorized. And then ite is 1 less oxygen. Now that is different for group 17, which I will talk about more later, but I do want to do one more thing. And I want to talk about the charge. For period 3 through 7, polyatomic ions. The charge of the polyatomic ion is the same as the charge of the element of the ion of the element. What that means is, anybody remember what charge sulfur would have as an anion? It's in group 16. -2. Guess what sulfate and sulfite have? -2. What charge does bromine as an anion have? It's a element 35. -1. Guess what charge all of the bromide, the bromate and bromite and ions have? -1. That will help you in memorizing if you know that trend. We'll talk a few more trends on Wednesday, and then I may bring in some bingo to start helping us memorize them. Yes. I don't have my syllabus with me, so I can't answer that question. It's on the 8th of November. Okay. Thank you. You want all of the pieces?
I wasn't here Wednesday, so I'm not sure what papers I need.